Anthony looked dominating in the fight, but there is no way I'm that bad, right? It's obvious I was not even trying. All I care about is the money. I don't want to say I was paid to lose, but I think fans are smart enough to realize what they...
I don't think he was there to actually fight him. What was the game plan? Stick and move, try and lunge in, try and shoot in a takedown? No, that's not how you win a boxing fight.
I didn't think it was a great AJ performance. Eventually, he did what he was supposed to do, but it wasn't the AJ performance we were looking for in terms of, this is the guy I want to go see fight Tyson Fury. But when he hit him with that right hand, and there's a picture out, Leo, if you'll find it and put it on the screen for me here. I want to say this. Everybody this week talked about Jake Paul rigged fight, Jake Paul rigs this, Jake Paul fixed fight, Jake Paul. Look at this picture of Jake Paul's mouth. I mean, what a railroad would look like if an earthquake hit right in the middle of it. His jaw has been set.
Online speculation has been spreading, with some people claiming that Jake Paul might have been compensated to take a loss. However, these claims are based on fan discussion and have not been confirmed by any evidence.
Let's put the earnings of the Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fight into perspective. Both fighters took home $93 million each in just 16 minutes. That's more than what Michael Jordan made in his 15-year career. Every 3 minutes, they made $15 million each, which is the same as the entire budget for one episode of Game of Thrones. Every single minute of the fight, they made $5 million each, which is more than what the New York Knicks make from one home game. And every single second of the fight, they made $93,000 each. That's more than what 85% of Americans make in 1 year. That makes the Paul vs. Joshua fight the second highest paid fight in 2025.
Still, it shows just how unusual the fight felt to many viewers. Joshua, a fighter known for finishing opponents quickly, didn't really open up until the 6th round. That delay alone was enough to set social media buzzing.
Out, make Jake hold his weight and have the referee separate. That led to Jake, as soon as he felt AJ putting his weight on him or pushing him down, hitting the floor, diving at AJ's knees, and then eventually Jake would go to clinch and immediately fall to the ground on his own. And this became a problem because then it looked intentionally like Jake was going to the ground. There was one time where Jake went to the ground and AJ kept swinging on him. That I didn't like to see, but this was Jake's survival of the fittest moment. This was Darwinism in a boxing ring, right? He had to do whatever he could to just extend the fight and get one more, hope and pray shot, one more step back. He had a great step back uppercut, I think in the 4th round that almost, it clipped AJ. Honestly, you could see what AJ had said in their face-to-face, that he needed to break Jake's soul. He needed to break.
On top of that, AJ appeared far more measured than usual in the opening rounds, even looking slow by his own standards. For some viewers, that restraint stood out as another odd detail, adding fuel to the online speculation. Fans were asking why Anthony Joshua was moving so patiently, especially when his opponent was constantly backing up and offering openings.
I think AJ was in a bit of a daze early on, just walking him around, touching the jab on his shoulder, not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. Didn't look like he got out of first gear. Jake Paul was just on pure survival mode from round 1 right through to round 6. I don't know if he's got a moral victory going 6 rounds. Maybe he has. People might give him credit for going 6 rounds. But he got in there and just survived. He just went in there and ran like a chicken from round 1 right through to round 6 when he got splattered. And it's like, it's just, you can't really justify what he's done because this is supposed to be a professional sanctioned boxing match. And I think it brings the integrity of the sport down when somebody like AJ, is a 2-time world champion, can't get in there and just completely dismiss somebody like Jake Paul, who I've said for ages can't fight. He's not a professional.
That's where the discussion really explodes. Some people argue there's no realistic scenario where Jake Paul lasts 6 rounds against a heavyweight hitter like AJ unless something slowed to finish. They point out that Joshua has dismantled experienced professionals far faster than that. Yet in this fight, Jake was allowed to move, grab, and keep his distance, circling the ring endlessly like he was trying to stay out of reach at all costs. That's when the murmurs start. Was it a normal fight, or one with a carefully controlled tempo? Let it breathe, extend the moment, and then let the inevitable happen right on cue.
I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up. and I take my hat off to him. So America, I think you have someone who could potentially, if he still has the heart for it, come back again, dust the dirt off his shoulder, and come again and maybe sell out this center sometime in 2026. Maybe against a Javonte Davis, a Ryan Garcia, who knows?
To be clear, I'm not claiming the fight was staged. Boxing doesn't really work that way. Still, it's easy to see why some fans were skeptical when AJ didn't push the action early and appeared a step slower than normal. But once all the speculation fades, the ending tells its own story. Joshua eventually uncorked that right hand with real malice, and the second it connected, every conspiracy theory evaporated. There's no choreography that sends a jaw flying into orbit. No matter what people think about the build-up, the finish was unmistakably genuine heavyweight violence.
Or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's two things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best.
Moving from the chaos of the Paul Joshua debate into Johnny Nelson's analysis feels like stepping out of the highlight reel and onto the gym floor. Johnny isn't there to hype anything up. He's there to strip it back to reality. When he talks, you can almost sense years of hard rounds behind his words as he explains a truth every seasoned fighter understands. An opponent who's focused only on lasting the distance is the most frustrating challenge there is. Nelson describes Jake as someone who saw a fully primed Anthony Joshua, solid, dangerous, and loaded with pressure, and immediately chose survival over confrontation.
Instinct is going to kick in. Instinctively, he ran. Instinctively, he tried to spoil. Instinctively, he just wanted to survive. And any fighter knows, the general public won't get it. Any fighter knows if you're in there with someone that just wants to survive, they are the hardest people to get.
And honestly, when Johnny talked about instinct taking over, it rings true because we all watched it happen in real time. The bravado disappeared the moment things got serious, and survival became the priority. What's especially interesting is how he shifts some of that frustration onto AJ as well, pointing out that it's far tougher than people realize to break down someone who refuses to engage, keeps tying up, disrupts rhythm, and burns seconds whenever possible. Johnny's view is that fans were hoping for a sharp movie-style knockout, but what they actually witnessed was confidence being slowly drained away. It wasn't about spectacle. It was about something unavoidable unfolding piece by piece.
To go and fight. I think Jake Paul had a reality check. So all these bold predictions that he was going to do, reality kicked in once he was stood there in that big 22-foot ring with Anthony Joshua in the corner. All of a sudden he's got to back up the post, and he's thinking, damn, I really have to back up the post. And then he realised once the bell had gone, this is real. So he did everything he could to survive. And in a way, I felt sorry for Anthony Joshua because I thought, this guy, he didn't want to fight. He's going to keep moving and moving and moving. And yeah, Jake threw one or two desperate haymakers, hoping it'd hit something.
When Johnny describes that single clean punch finally connecting and shattering Jake's resolve, not just his chin, that's the language of boxing, not online theatrics. He even gives Jake a measured kind of respect, noting that he built the moment, drew the spotlight, and played the business side flawlessly. But once the fight began, the illusion came with a clear expiration date. Perhaps the sharpest takeaway from Johnny is his blunt honesty. This bout didn't elevate AJ so much as it reestablished the boundaries of reality. No hype, no animosity, just a former professional calling it as it is. When belief collides with experience, experience doesn't hurry. It waits, and eventually it collects.
AJ was getting frustrated because he wanted that clean KO. And so the time when the one clean shot hit him, it broke his jaw and he went down. So he knew, realistically, if you're in a fight and you get hit, sometimes you're going to get hit and you'll try and bullshit and get your way through. The one clean shot we saw get hit with, he had a choice of staying up or going down. And he's like, nope. It was like a split second time delay. And he had to.
Coming straight off Johnny Nelson's no-nonsense, Old school breakdown. The mood changes again when Michael Bisping weighs in. Now it's less about gym floor fundamentals and more about blunt, couch-side honesty. Listening to Bisping, it's obvious he's not buying the idea that this was some hidden gem of a fight worth revisiting later. In his view, yes, AJ got the job done, but let's not dress it up as something electric. And that reaction makes sense. We all watched Joshua moving forward patiently, almost like he was waiting for a moment that was always scheduled to arrive, while Jake turned the ring into a running lane, circling, dipping, and doing everything possible to stay mobile.
They both stepped in the ring. They were paid $92 million. They both get to go home to their families, and no one got injured. No one's dead. No one's going to the hospital. They're both fine. Apparently, Jake Paul claims that he's got a broken jaw, spat a little bit of blood out, right? But the fight itself wasn't anything to remember. It really wasn't, right? Anthony Joshua was a little sloppy. He was tentative. He took his time. He said he was trying to break him down, look for the shots, and maybe it's because he'd been out the ring for 15 months, okay? And last went up against Daniel Dubois. Or maybe it's because he felt like a bit of a bully going up against Jake Paul, but he didn't seem like he really had nasty.
The most telling moment might be Bisping admitting he glanced away for a split second and completely missed the ending, which, honestly, says more about the fight than any scorecard ever could. You had Jake diving in like he was attempting takedowns, almost expecting Herb Dean to step in. The referee looking momentarily unsure which sport he was overseeing, and AJ seemingly overthinking an outcome that was never really in doubt. That was the chaos on display. To Bisping's credit, he keeps the assessment balanced. He acknowledges the courage involved without pretending the game plan was effective. His point is simple. Lasting longer isn't the same as actually competing. And when he contrasts it with genuine exchanges, real finishes, and real risk, the difference becomes impossible to ignore.
Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last. Can he run away long enough for it to be credible? Can he stay away and disengage long enough to where he can be proud of going 6 rounds with Anthony Joshua? And it sounds like I'm being a hater. I'm not being a hater. I'm just saying what I saw, right? I don't think he was there to actually fight him. What was the game plan? Stick and move, try and lunge in, try and shoot in a takedown? No, that's not how you win a box.
As we move on from Bisping's brutally honest, this wasn't a classic take. The tone eases slightly when Eddie Hearn steps in. Now it's less of a roast and more of a measured, grown man perspective. Listening to Eddie, you can hear that familiar promoter-ass translator mode kick in. Like he's saying, all right, jokes aside, let's deal with what actually happened. He openly acknowledges that Jake ran, that he tied up, that he did everything he could to buy time. But he also points out something that can't be ignored. Jake stayed upright through shots that would have turned most heavyweights into instant highlight reels. And when Eddie talks about that right hand, his voice tells the story. That wasn't a touch-up shot. It was a full send, a lights-out invitation that somehow didn't end the night on the spot. You don't have to admire the style to respect the toughness.
Even the shot that shattered his jaw would have knocked out most heavyweights. As in, I mean, I know he was knocked out, but as in cold. That was the right hand light he landed on and gone. And you saw what he did to him. So respect to Jake Paul. It's a very tough injury to come back from, that kind of injury. I don't know the severity of it, but if he has broken his jaw, you know, it's a tough one to come back from. But he's a crazy fucker, and we take our hat off.
From there, Eddie naturally widens the lens, because that's what he does best. And this is where his perspective really locks in. He admits the early rounds were frustrating. Not due to anything AJ was doing wrong, but because you can't gather information when your opponent refuses to stay connected. A new coaching setup, a long break from competition, and an awkward opponent turned those moments into something closer to paid sparring against someone whose only objective is to make it through the night. Eddie's point is simple. If AJ had ended in under a minute, the crowd would have erupted, but there would have been nothing to take away from it. Instead, Joshua got rounds, discipline, and a real reminder that cutting off a mobile opponent who won't engage is its own kind of test. What also stands out is how Eddie subtly upgrades Jake, from average to serviceable.
But I was surprised at the amount of shots that he took in the end, and that he wasn't out cold. That's what I was surprised about, you know. And I said he's going to do very well to not get hurt in this fight. Unfortunately, he got badly hurt with his jaw, but still, he deserves a lot of credit.
AJ's performance, I mean,
Good. I mean, first 2 or 3 rounds, a little bit frustrating because you've been out of the ring for a year and a half and you've got a guy that's just running around the ring, and you know, you can say you've got to cut him off, but when they're moving at that kind of speed and they're holding up close, but his clinching was quite good, Jake. Like, yeah, listen, you know, I'm not saying he's going to go and win a world title, but he just fought Anthony Joshua and went 5-0.
When you step back and take it all in, the rumors of restraint, the survival first approach, the late eruption, the old school analysis, that's why this fight didn't end with the final bell. It lives on in the debates, the replays, the hypotheticals, and the opinions that split timelines down the middle. Now it's your turn. Was this measured patience, awkward survival, or a spectacle that unfolded exactly the way it was always going to? Let me know your take in the comments. Keep it respectful. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.